State regime media, which calls itself Fox News, is just spiraling before our eyes on live TV. To see the sheer panic in these hosts is a sight to behold. They don't know what to cover as Donald Trump is plummeting in the polls, as Donald Trump's policies are blowing up in his face, and as the regime propaganda just ain't working anymore. So they've been running segments like this. Apparently, cuffing season is over. Here, play this clip.
Well, you might not know what it is, cuffing season, but apparently it's over, as young women are now saying that boyfriends are out. A new viral trend had women proudly declaring themselves boy sober and saying it's cringe to call someone your boyfriend. Alexandria Hoff is in Washington with more. Tell us more about this boy sober trend.
Then they got to bring on Kellyanne Conway. We haven't seen her in some time. Miss Alternative Facts. And she goes, but everybody knows that Donald Trump has such a great gravitational pull. What are you even talking about? Here, play this clip.
I have never encountered anyone in 10 years of being of the Trump era who can actually ignore Donald Trump. He has a gravitational pull. He is a magnetic field. Putin comes to Alaska. 2-3 days later, all of Western Europe is there. All of NATO is in the Oval Office. Sheba comes from, Carney comes. The guy in Starmer comes. All these new leaders come right to the Oval. And Zoran Mandani did the same thing, exactly what a lot of his voters think he shouldn't have done and that they would never do because they don't like Trump, and he does.
And then I guess to help themselves cope how weak Donald Trump's been looking, they bring on this other Fox host who is like, we all know that Mamdani was just an adorable fanboy of Donald Trump. Here, play this clip.
Kennedy.
Well, for someone who's going to Trump-proof the city, he was certainly an adorable little fanboy in the Oval Office. And I actually think it's a good model for how we should treat each other over Thanksgiving.
Donald Trump has literally been dressing up right now like Mamdani in the red turtleneck. That's what's actually going on. Donald Trump was like destroyed in the Oval Office. Did we all watch that? So then Fox has to bring back the former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, the failed spineless speaker. And he said, look, MAGA Republicans should be worried. He wanted to go after MAGA Mike Johnson on this segment about how weak MAGA Mike is to make himself feel stronger than MAGA Mike. They're both pathetic. And Kevin McCarthy's like, Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning last Friday could be the canary in the coal mine. Other Republicans are getting ready to resign. MAGA Mike, you might lose your job. This is what Kevin McCarthy was saying on Fox. As I told you, Fox has no clue what the heck it can even cover anymore when Kevin McCarthy's saying this. Here, play this clip.
What happened, by the way, with MTG? She's leaving Congress?
She's leaving Congress, but I don't think that's the end that you'll see about her. And I think, look, I've always believed that anytime you have an elected official that's known by 3 initials, they're effective on what they do. And I found Marjorie to be very effective, but she's almost like a canary in a coal mine. And this is something inside Congress they better wake up, because they're going to get a lot of people retiring and they got to focus. I think keeping members out of Congress, you only get 2 years to be in the majority. And if the Democrats get you not to work every day for 2 months, that's losing 2 months of the majority.
All right. So now take 2 with Kellyanne Conway, Miss Alternative Facts. And she goes, look, they got to bring back attacking Hillary Clinton. Look, most women don't want to be like Hillary Clinton, she says. This is what you're talking about? Were you living in 2015, 2016 with your attacks? Here, play this clip.
Her husband, Bill, was taken off with the side piece known as the Energizer Bunny. I mean, this is a woman who doesn't represent most women in this country. She's an elitist, and she reminds us all why they didn't like her to be a...
Then Brett Baer brings on the energy secretary and gets the energy secretary to admit that electricity prices right now are through the roof and Americans are suffering. But don't worry, because Fox is promising and Trump's energy secretary is promising next year, maybe halfway through the year, things may get better next year. We know that Donald Trump promised on day one he was going to bring down electricity prices by 50%, maybe 75%. Remember, that's what he said during the campaign. On day one also, everything was going to be more affordable. But now Fox and Energy Secretary Wright are admitting, they lied. Yeah, he's a con artist. Here, play this clip.
For people now, you know, if you look at the latest this energy inflation data. This is September inflation data. You know, you can see energy going up, electricity going up, gasoline a little bit down, gas service up. And if you look at the average gas price, these are two different things to look at, but steady from 1 year ago, it's about roughly the same, $3.07, $3.06. I guess my question is, will people feel a different energy cost into the new year, quarter one, quarter two, do you think?
I think you'll soon see a stop in the rise of electricity prices. We're going to achieve that, I think, hopefully in the first half of 2026, the stop of the rises. But during the Trump administration, you will see a downward trend before the administration's over, a downward trend in the price of electricity in most all states that are open to building new infrastructure, that are building data centers, that are building power plants, that are building pipelines. We will see overall a downward national trend in the price of electricity.
Okay, so bring back on Kevin McCarthy, and Kevin McCarthy even praises AOC. He's like, you know, she may get a cabinet position in the next administration when a Democrat wins. Okay, here, play this clip.
She says Senate, maybe president. Is this possible?
I think she's running for president, not for the Senate. Remember, this all stems from Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has never passed a bill, but he's a movement politician. He brought you AOC, Madani, and this is what AOC helped him win that mayor's race. Remember when no one else would make a decision? She's in the parade. She's campaigning. I do not believe she could become the nominee, but if she makes a run and she has a block of votes, she could become a cabinet member if Democrats were to win.
What department do you see AOC leading?
I don't know. She doesn't have expertise in anything, but we'll have to see.
Well, I mean, that didn't stop Pete Buttigieg, but it doesn't even matter.
That's right.
It's about patronage. You know how that works in Congress. McCarthy, great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving. Tell your mother I said hello.
I will. She's so happy to hear that.
All right, Kellyanne, you're really going to say more? It's already been humiliating. And Kellyanne Conway goes, for a movement that says it doesn't like kings, to have Mamdani there, and he made Donald Trump look like a king. No, he did. What are you talking about? Trump looked like he had a crush on Mamdani. Were you watching that, or is that your whole alternative facts things? Here, play this clip.
And for a movement, Jessica, that talks about no kings, you got Trump sitting there like royalty and the guy looking like he's going to go get him a Diet Coke. I mean, he looks like the supplicant. It looked like the apprentice to the senior partner, no doubt. But this is classic Trump. He did this with Barack Obama and Joe Biden during transition. Same kind of meeting. He congratulated Hillary Clinton when he beat her and said, wow, she ran a really tough campaign. She's really tough. He hopes she'll help him in his presidency. Of course, she did nothing of the sort. More on that later.
I told you this was pathetic. Then Kevin McCarthy starts smack talking trash about MAGA Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace and says she needs to get help. Here, play this clip.
Every time in Congress, we would vote on a bipartisan basis who was the least ethical, who was the least respected. It was always a tie between Swalwell and Nancy Mace. And I just don't see these people leading anywhere.
Oh my gosh, you hate Nancy Mace. You hate
No, I don't. I want her to get the help she needs. I just don't want to put her in a position that she makes decisions.
Okay.
But folks, Energy Secretary Wright is back, and he says, look, here's how we're going to deal with when we build these data centers, these AI data centers, which suck up all the energy and electricity from the communities and make everybody's electricity prices and energy prices that much higher. He goes, look, it's Biden's fault. Okay, just blame Biden. We're going to blame Biden, for the next 4 years? It's Biden's fault. And we're going to find, he says, we'll find some backup generators behind the Walmart. Oh, so you're going to get rid of solar energy, you're going to get rid of wind energy, and your plan to deal with data centers that are crushing the American people and communities across this country is you're going to put backup generators in Walmart, or take backup generators? Like, these people are actually crazy. Here, play this clip.
So how do we get that and still prevent people's electricity costs and energy costs from going up?
No, great question, Brett. So that is going to take a lot of changes. We've seen surging American oil production, surging American natural gas production over the last 10 years, but not electricity production. Just a different regulatory bureaucracy that has smothered growth in electricity. And of course, Biden-era policies that wanted to subtract. They wanted to close power plants much more than they wanted to build power plants. Of course, we've reversed that. We've stopped closing coal power plants. We've made it easy and quick to power new power plants. We're going to enable existing power plants to up their output. We're going to take backup generators that are already at data centers or behind the back of a Walmart and bring those on when we need extra electricity production. We're going to do a lot of creative things with transmission lines. So we will find tens of gigawatts of new transmission capacity on our existing grid.
So I've got some big news. Today's climate update comes with a surprising twist, and honestly, it's kind of an encouraging one. Even though the Trump administration completely backtracked on global climate efforts ahead of the COP30 summit, American businesses are not following that lead. And in fact, they are doing the complete opposite. So Reuters reviewed the attendance lists and found that 60 representatives from Fortune 100 companies showed up in Belém, Brazil. That's more than last year's summit. And the companies aren't small players either. We're talking Microsoft, Google, General Motors, Citigroup, Occidental Petroleum, even Exxon CEO Darren Woods was at the pre-COP events. So the Trump administration is more extreme than Exxon. Let that sink in for a second. And why are they showing up? Well, executives say the answer is simple. Climate action is good business. Extreme weather is hammering supply chains and profits, and companies are realizing that they can't afford to sit on the sidelines. PepsiCo's chief sustainability officer said it bluntly, said, quote, "We need farmers to keep farming. Their entire business depends on this." Meanwhile, climate job growth is exploding. Former EPA chief Gina McCarthy noted that clean energy jobs grew 3 times faster than the rest of the U.S. workforce last year. And companies pushing clean energy and carbon markets say that these global conferences are where real partnerships happen. So the big picture, even with Trump calling climate change a hoax, businesses, cities, and non-federal leaders are stepping in and stepping up. Analysts say that existing policies from these groups are already driving major emissions cuts with or without the federal government. And that's why experts argue that U.S. companies still have a, quote, decisive role. Their presence signals to investors and global partners that the world's largest economy understands what's at stake: innovation, security, competitiveness, and keeping supply chains alive. In short, Washington may be wobbling on climate, but American businesses are not, and that matters just as much. Now, it's time for all of us to make noise, so let me know what you think about this in the comments below, whether it's your thoughts on this news, the climate in general, or on these ongoing climate updates that we're bringing you here at the MeidasTouch Network. Keep spreading the word. Ben, back to you.
All right. Okay. What does Greg Gutfeld have to say? Fox's in-house comedian, Greg Gutfeld, says, "Oh, with Mamdani, I thought it was going to be Godzilla versus Mothra, but it was Batman and Robin." Okay, here, play this clip.
Thing, which was really, really nice. He said, you know, you were thinking, okay, is this Godzilla versus Mothra? No, it's really Batman and Robin. And we know who Batman is, and we know who Robin is. And when he says, don't worry about it.
And then Jesse Waters refers to the very distinguished veteran, Senator Mark Kelly, as this guy, Kelly. It's good that the military is investigating him for a court-martial. I'm sure you've heard the story. We've reported about it on the MeidasTouch Network, and I'm sure you've heard about it elsewhere as well, that the Department of Defense wants to re-enlist Senator Mark Kelly so they can then court-martial him as active duty and then go after him through military tribunals, because he and other Democratic lawmakers put out that video telling the military that you can't follow unlawful orders, which is literally a statement of the military law. But Jesse Waters, and you see how angry he is, Jesse Waters? He's like, this guy named Kelly. Yeah, he's Mark Kelly. He was an astronaut. He's a fighter pilot. He's a United States senator, and he's more of a man than you'll ever be. Like, you're a fraction of the man that Senator Kelly is, Waters. Here, play this clip.
See them fumbling and stumbling. And I'm glad that the U.S. military is now investigating this guy, Kelly, because this is what we expect from Donald Trump 2.0. You can't have the deep state interfering with a duly elected presidency and get away with it. You got to draw the line in the sand, and you have to make examples out of people.
And then this is where Fox had to admit that the case against Comey and Letitia James was dismissed by the federal judge. Play this clip.
Forgive me, but we have some breaking news. We'll come right back. A Fox News alert. The case against former FBI Director James Comey is getting dismissed. The judge ruling the appointment of interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan violated the Constitution. The judge also criticized the DOJ for allowing an FBI agent who viewed Comey's privileged materials to testify to the grand jury. Now, the judge also tossed the case against Letitia James.
And then they talk about on Fox, but this was a fluke. This was a side-ruling fluke by a partisan judge. I'm not sure why I'm doing a British accent. No, Lindsay Halligan was not allowed to be appointed as the interim United States attorney because you're only allowed one interim. And the Republican interim from the Eastern District of Virginia, Eric Siebert, the Trump regime fired because he wouldn't go after Comey and he wouldn't go after James because there was no case against them. But go ahead, tell us it's a fluke. Play this clip.
Do we foresee at all then an appeal or a different then prosecution, a second bite of the apple then with procedural things intact?
I would just, I mean, yes, it's a 29-page opinion. I was just reading through it. So sorry if I look distracted during our segment. It doesn't get to the claim of malicious prosecution that Jim Comey was making. So this is solely the appointments clause, and that's why you have both cases dismissed against both individuals.
Right. And it is kind of interesting, though, because obviously that's kind of a fluke side ruling, not on the merits of the case. But it is kind of interesting how all of these fluke side rulings always tend to seem to go in the same direction.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Sean from Real World Season 4. Sean from Real World Road Rules Challenge. That's where this guy's from. I can't believe I'm even saying this. Duffy, tell us what Americans need to know going into this Thanksgiving when it comes to flight safety. Here, play this clip.
But I think we have to think about how do we do a better job? How do we, maintain maybe some of that frustration we have as we travel this Thanksgiving season? Maybe we should say please and thank you to our pilots and to our flight attendants. I think, again, I call this just maybe dressing with some respect. Whether it's a pair of jeans and a decent shirt, I would encourage people to maybe dress a little better, which encourages us to maybe behave a little better. Let's try not to wear slippers and pajamas as we come to the airport. I think that's positive.
What, you want people to dress better? You're upset that people are dressing in comfortable clothing? At the same time, you're reversing all the consumer protections that the Biden administration fought for against the airliners to protect people? I have an idea. How about when airlines don't scrunch us all next to each other, shoulder to shoulder? And how about if everybody could be treated like it's business class or first class and the airlines are affordable and everybody can be treated with respect and they all are on time and people aren't getting ripped off? Then how about I dress up for you? But until airlines do that and they try to treat us like we're cargo, like human beings as cargo, I'm gonna go comfortable. Okay, Duffy? And what's your obsession with the way we dress? It's freaking weird. All right, they got to bring in MAGA Republican Congresswoman Salazar. And now she's a Cuban, her family was a Cuban refugee. She represents a congressional district of Cubans and Venezuelans in near Miami in southern Florida. And she was the one who said that her Liberty Act, she promised everybody that Trump was only going to go after the criminals when it comes to migrants. He's not going to go after people who have been here and hardworking. That's what she promised. I've showed you all those videos of her. I promise you, I wrote the Liberty Act. Trump will never go after the people who are not criminals. And now, because she betrayed her community and literally threw them to the wolves and destroyed their lives, her new thing is, but we are going to invade Venezuela and steal their oil. We're going to steal the Venezuelan oil. Here, play this clip.
I mean, I would love to see a change in government. My wife's from Nicaragua. We know how terribly the dictators there rely on Venezuelan oil. But at the same time, a lot of Americans don't want actual U.S. participation in regime change in Venezuela. They would much prefer the Venezuelans to do it on their own. Do you think the pressure that Maduro has received will force him to leave on his own?
Oh, I think Maduro is not Fidel Castro. Maduro is not a brave boy. So now that he has understood that he's on that very nefarious list of the terrorist organization, that the airspace above Venezuela has been closed off and the commercial airlines from the United States are not flying, he's understanding that we're about to go in. He understands that he has been our enemy for the last 25 years. Venezuela, for those Americans who do not understand why we need to go in, basically for three reasons. You're in Fox Business. Venezuela, for the American oil companies, will be a field day because it will be more than $1 trillion in economic activity. American companies can go in and fix all the oil pipe, the whole oil rigs and everything that has to do with the Venezuelan petroleum companies, or anything that has to do with oil and the derivatives.
She's literally saying it out loud. You want to invade to steal the oil. I mean, just think about that. Look, let's be very clear. Maduro is a dictator. He is an illegitimate ruler of Venezuela. Now, does that mean we should have regime change right now? I think not. Okay. I don't want to go for another war right now. Okay. Especially while the American people are suffering. And do I want us to pursue an agenda to steal the oil from Venezuela, which is like taking it from the people? Nah, what are we talking about here? But Tom Emmer, MAGA Republican Congress member, he goes, I got one better than you, Salazar. I'm just going to lie and say grocery prices and everything's down. Here, play this clip.
Midterm elections, Congressman. I mean, now everybody's talking about affordability. Are you going to be able to convince the American people that, in fact, costs are coming down? Do you want to see President Trump cut tariffs at this point on some of the things that he's talking about? He said he's going to start cutting tariffs on certain things like coffee from Brazil, et cetera.
Groceries are down. Gas is at a 5-year low that you put in your car, Maria.
Yeah, that's good.
And you still have the permanent tax policy that will take effect in January. No taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security. These are the marquee items that Donald Trump ran on that have actually been delivered. And look, they destroyed this economy under Joe Biden for 4 years. Donald Trump has been there for less than a year, and he is already showing progress. Get ready for 2026. I believe it's going to take off, and we will be in a great position for the midterms because Americans will realize that exactly what they voted for when they voted for Donald J. Trump last November, and Republicans in the House and the Senate, promises made have been promises kept. And this is the future is going to be much brighter a year from now.
All right, Congressman Tom Emmer in fighting form. I love it. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much.
But at the end of the day, Caroline Leavitt goes on Fox and she says Donald Trump deserves an E for effort. Give him an E for effort because he's been working really super hard to make a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. No, he hasn't. He's been golfing. He was too scared to show up at the G20. He's too lazy to show up in Geneva or any of these meetings. Instead, he just takes the plan delivered by Russia for Ukrainian surrender and he presents it as the American plan. Okay, that's what's happening because he's a Putin stooge. Okay, that's what happens. He promised he would end this war on day one. He didn't. And now also in Gaza, there is no ceasefire anymore, although our media here in America loves to talk about historic peace deal. But then when we see dozens and dozens and dozens of Palestinians being killed quite frequently over there, and we know that there's no ceasefire right now since they've announced the deal, and Hamas has said there's no ceasefire, Netanyahu and Smotrich and the whole government says that they don't support a two-state solution. There's more operations in the West Bank. You see settlements still happening in the West Bank. Hamas and Israel never signed the agreement. Hamas refuses to disarm. Go brag about your E for effort, Leavitt. E for effort. Here, play this clip.
So the president remains hopeful and optimistic that a deal can be struck. And I think he deserves a great amount of credit for the extensive amount of time and energy he has put into solving this war.
There you have it, folks. These people, this would be parody. This could actually be funny if these weren't real human beings destroying our lives. And that's what they are. And they think we're stupid. They think you are stupid. They think Americans are stupid. We're not. We know what you're up to. We know you're fraud. We know you're con artists. We know you're scam. We know you're grifters. We know who you are. We know who you are.
Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.